of Georgia with a BS in computer science. In 1984, he started working for NASA as a Rockwell engineer responsible for training astronauts and flight controllers on how to deploy shuttle payloads and satellites and how to operate the shuttle computer systems. In 1998, Tracy was hired by NASA to work in shuttle flight software command for the shuttle at International Space Station and was promoted to branch chief in 2000. Tracy was selected to chair the ISS, which is the International Space Station, Ground Segment Control Board in 2004. The Ground Segment Control Board is responsible for setting up the interfaces between the NASA Mission Control Center at the Johnson Space Center and the International Partners Control Centers. The position required extensive travel to Russia, Japan, Germany, Italy, and Canada. In 2009, a new branch was formed where Tracy served over the GSCB, MCC operations, and the Flight Software Command. Tracy has received the NASA Astronaut Silver Snoopy Award, the NASA Space Act Award, the NASA Space Flight Awareness Award, and the Rockwell President's Award. Tracy retired from NASA in 2023 and started an LLC called Plan, Train, Fly Consulting. Tracy has been passionate about outreach and encouraging youth to reach for their dreams throughout his career. He's been a keynote speaker at South by Southwest, Disney, NOAA, Rice University, and numerous schools and aerospace organizations. Tracy has retinitis pigmentosa and has been legally blind since he was 15 years old. Retinitis pigmentosa has attacked 6 generations of his family. He is a big advocate for retinal research and DNA testing. Tracy met his wife Sherry, who is also here with us tonight, in college, and they've been married for 46 years. They have I have an outdated bio. It's 47. They have 3 sons and 5 grandchildren. Tracy has completed 31 full marathons and 2 triathlons. He was the first legally blind person to fly in NASA's microgravity plane, also known as the Vomit Comet. And tonight he's here with us in Fargo, North Dakota, supporting North Dakota's nonprofit Focus Ahead. Please join me in welcoming Tracy.
Okay. Is this good? Can you hear me? Yeah. Good evening, Ford! Go, go, go! So, with that beautiful introduction, I guess I'm done. Any questions? So, I have, as she said earlier, I started off as writing software for the coolest simulator in the world. That's the motion-based shuttle simulator. It would lay you on your back. It would vibrate. You look out the window, you'd see the launch tower going by, and it would shoot up. When you wanted to land, you put the stick down, the whole thing would move. I could blow tires. I could get crosswinds, fail engines, all these things to train the astronaut on how to do their work. I also trained them on the Hubble telescope. And so what you do is you look at the back of the shuttle. If you look at the back of the window, that's the tail back there where y'all are, and you went out there hitting. 10-foot robotic arm. And it had a shoulder, elbow, and wrist joint. The camera's here and here, and it would have snares here, and the whole telescope would have a grapple fixture. So we would turn it on to internal batteries, and then we would go out, remove the trunnions that were holding it in its place, grab hold of it, pick it up, move it over, deploy the solar arrays, and release it. And I did all that while I was legally blind. RT has attacked my family for seven. So my great-grandmother, my grandmother, when I knew her, she was blind. My mom was a carrier, so some way her body produced the proteins that I don't have. I have it, and I got it when I was around 15. My son, who's 37, he's a pastor at our church that we grew up in. And then we just found out my 5-year-old grandson, Hank, has this eye disease. So you can say I'm very, very motivated to stop this disease and to stop all retinal diseases, because there's a lot of cures for all of them. You know, they're doing amazing things now. It's not if we would cure blindness, it's when. Because the research and everything's out there, but it takes money. That's one of the reasons I encourage people to get their DNA tested. You know, LCA, we know what Elliot has. It's important you know it, because I always tell the more people that have your eye disease, pharmaceuticals want to make money. So the more people have your eye disease, the more profitable a cure would be. And I always say that numbers drive money, money funds research, and research funds cure. So what y'all are doing today is so important, because your contributions are going to be what we need to get the LCA and the other retinal diseases all eliminated. You know, they have things like stem cell, they have CRISPR, they have gene therapy. Gene therapy, there's 350 different versions of retinitis pigmentosa. So you can imagine, it each costs a couple of million to get into phase 3 and released for humans to use. So it costs so much money right now, but some of them are generic. They also got something where they're looking at transplanting the eye. Wouldn't that be amazing? And you know, I've always thought, I think I have kind of bluish eyes. Maybe I could get a green one. You know, green, it'd be pretty cool. So I could be blinking. What color your eye? What do you think? I don't know. So anyway, those are the kind of things that I'm super excited about that they're doing. And when I was young, I started losing my vision. I still did not withdraw from doing activities, much like what I see Elliot being a great example. I played on the football team, and to get from the gymnasium to the football field, I had one of my teammates hold a towel, and I would run with him with the towel out of the field. And by the way, I was a starter, but it was a small school. It was very small. I was considered big in the early 70s. So I played football, I ran on the track team, I high jumped, and pole vaulted when I was in high school. So I always tell people, you know, chase your dreams. So what I thought I would start off with is tell you a little bit about what NASA is doing with your tax dollar, because we're all starting to think about the tax man. So this is the good herb. So I'm going to find a little shuttle over here. The space station, pretend this is a space station, we retired the shuttle, but it is going 250 miles above the Earth, and it's going around at 17,500 miles per hour. It does an orbit every 90 minutes. They see 16 sunsets and 16 sunrises in a day. They get old fast, but they are doing things you can only do in microgravity. They're doing research on the human body that you do. You know, we think of H2O. You know, that stays together. There's compounds we can make, drugs we can do in space that you can't do. We can study the human body. When somebody has to go on bed rest for a long time, when you're weightless, your heart can shrink by 1/3. They spend an hour and a half to 2 hours a day exercising to keep their heart strong. Because it's a muscle, it doesn't have to pump hard. So all kind of good research we're doing there. Actually, I don't think I'm use the earth anymore. So I'll put it over there. So now I thought I'd talk about the Artemis rocket. Artemis is the twin sister of Apollo. And if you look at it, you took these two solid rocket boosters off, it would look just like the Apollo. But what we did is we took some of the shuttle. If you looked at the shuttle rode on an external tank. These both, the external tank and the SLS, Space Launch System, is liquid oxygen and liquid hydrogen they burn. It would ride these two solid rocket boosters to get up higher, and then this part of the rocket carries it the rest of the way. So it's kind of like we combine the shuttle and the Apollo, and this has 8.8 million pounds of thrust. The Orion capsule can hold 4 people, and we will fly, Orion 2 will launch in the February to April time frame. And one of the nice things about the Orion capsule, in Apollo, they had to bag all their poop and urine. This actually has a bathroom. A bathroom, I'll tell you, this is Martin's society, no outhouses. The other thing, we'll be flying our first African American to go around the moon. We've had every kind of race you can think of go up in the space station. Every kind of person go up. And we'll have the first female to go around the moon. And what I like to tell people is that the female astronauts, since they all live in Houston, they'll be wearing cowgirl boots. So we're really excited about that. And next, over here, is Mars. So we're also spending your tax dollars. In 2021, we landed a rover and a helicopter. And that rover is still working. And it's called Perseverance, because it's crawling. And it's collecting rock samples, doing all the research, sending it back to us, but it's also putting it in capsules so we can find signs of ancient life. We can look at the geology. So you want to study rocks and other things? We need you at NASA. And it's also looking at the climate so we can prepare ourselves for human travel there. And then we had the helicopter called Ingenuity, because Mars, if you didn't know it, has 1% atmosphere. So a helicopter, if you wave your hand in front of your face, feel that air? Think if we only have 1% air. When first we go, ooh, but you also wouldn't be able to do so. I always say that blade had to go super duper fast. We had something called the DART. That was in 2022, and it's called Planetary Defense. And I love this project we did. We launched a rocket, and say a meteorite, this is a meteorite or an asteroid coming towards the Earth. We launched something and took an asteroid and knocked it off its course. So if it was coming right towards us, we now have proven that we can move that off. And I tell you, the dinosaurs would have really liked to have this a long time. So next, I'll just talk about the James Webb Space Telescope. So it's looking back to the beginning of time. You know, the Hubble is in low Earth orbit, but you still have some of the things when you look up on a cloudy day, and we have to reboost it because its orbit is decaying, because it's being kept in its orbit by the Earth's gravity slowly comes down. But the James Webb is 1 million miles up, and it can look back to the beginning of time. And some people say, how do you mean? What do you mean? So my son went to Japan, and when he was there, he took a photo of himself and mailed it to my wife and I. And he had a beard. 2 weeks later, after he was home, I got the card. He'd already shaved. I was looking back at what he looked like 2 weeks ago. We're looking at light that's been traveling billions and billions. I said, like, who's that guy who does all this stuff? Anyway, billions of years ago, and seeing back to the beginning of time. So what I'd like to do is I have 100 pennies in my pocket, and I'm going to see how many of these pennies does NASA get out of your tax dollar. So, let's see. Couple of them. I'll be thinking in your head. You got it right. Oh, man. Oh, wait. Oh, there it was. Last penny. We get about half of 1 penny. So don't ever say I don't have good sense. But anyway, I'll throw that to the side. Next, I'd like to talk to you about my thoughts on people with disabilities, especially the visually impaired and blind. You know, Neil Armstrong is the first man to walk on the moon. A great man as Neil Armstrong was, we could not have gone to the moon and brought him back if we filled NASA with clones of Neil Armstrong. It took diversity of thought, different perspectives, and unique problem-solving skills to meet the challenge. I always say that cloning is overrated, but people with disabilities, the blind and the vision impaired, were underrated. But as Bob Dylan said in the 60s, the times they are changing. That's really not bad sung. I really wanted to and play it with the band, but I just didn't have the time. So and probably glad I didn't. So what I say is that people that are vision impaired and blind were great problem solvers. We have it woven into our DNA. I tell people, we don't think outside the box. We stop the box. And there's a group in North Carolina, at North Carolina State, that call themselves bot stoppers after I talked to them. They created a group that they're trying to think outside the box. And what people don't know in society is there's so much assistive technologies for people vision impaired and blind. You know, and there's AI now. So with my phone, I can see if I can get it going. It has something called voiceover built in. But I can read my emails as good as a sighted person. I can see if I have 4 or 4 bars without using my eyes. I'm like, oh. So let's see if I can. I'm going to put this back up for you to with it. Sure, yeah. Put this on, but I got it back on. I can attach a microphone to myself. You know, there's so many things. I can write term papers. I can write research papers. I've done that. I've done PowerPoints in rooms this big for flight readiness review with people, with my charts up there, and being able to do all that. But all these assistive technology is unfortunate, but most of society, especially employers, are not aware of it. You know, they just know, and even worse is that they'll tell somebody when they find out they have a visual impairment or they are blind, they'll try to tell them, keep your head down. Don't dream big, dream small. Be glad that we give you the crumbs from the table of life, and it just is not right. And so our job is to educate people so they know about these assistive technologies, that they give people, you know, I never wanted a free job. What I wanted was an opportunity, and if I perform, I keep performing. That's what we want, give people opportunity. So changing it just a little, because I've worked with all the international partners, I got to know people, you know, in a far, far away galaxy. And I had this white cane I used. And the guy said, what are you doing? So he gave me something that I use occasionally, but it's a little dangerous for a blind person. Can you bring it over to me? Limitation, it identifies obstacles. This thing, it cuts through them. I can go anywhere at any time. And you know what? People get out of my way. Thank you, Princess Lee. So next, I thought I'd talk to you a little bit about my journey to NASA. When I was a kid, I started in the first grade. I had a speech impediment. I had a lisp, and I could not pronounce words good. And I remember being pulled out of classes, and kids would kid me a lot of times and say so-and-so, and I'd say it, and say, they'd all giggle. So I went to special classes, and I remember 2 cue cards. As a young boy, what do you think of? Truck. You know, capital TR, little u, capital CK. And this one my grandmother snuck in. Church! Very good life lesson. Capital CH, little ER, capital CH. And now, of course, you can hear I've overcome that. I found out I had dyslexia, and I was the world's worst speller on the planet. And dyslexia is thought very well known, and 1 out of 5 people, or 20% of the population, has it. So I was not good at English. And when I went to take my SAT to go to, it's going back just a little. So my mom, when I was little, I would bump into things because what happens with RP, it takes your peripheral vision, but your central vision is good. So I would go around, but if there's a table there, I'm like, now when I'm shorter, it's easier. But I would run into things, and I had my speech impediment. So they said, you need to take her and have his IQ tested. So they went and tested my IQ, and like any good mom, she took my older sister and my young brother. So I would ask my mom how I did, and she said, you did okay. So I continued through school. She said, but your brother scored super high on the IQ. And so I would always go over to my brother and say, you scored super high on the IQ, didn't you? He's like, oh yeah. I said, who works at NASA? Anyway, when I went to Georgia, they let me on probation. That's how I got to go to school. In the summer, to see if I could go in the fall, and I made a mistake of taking English, and I made a big F. So when I made that F, they said, no more school for you. So I went and worked in a cotton mill for a year, saving up money. My parents didn't pay for my school. And when I got enough money, I went back to remedial English, remedial comprehension, and I took grammar. And when I took those courses and passed them, which I had to pay for even though they didn't capture my degree, I got into school. So when I get into school, they assigned me a counselor. And I told her that I'm legally blind and I'm going to go blind eventually. And she said, you know what? You like math and physics and calculus, but you need to go into counseling for something you don't use your eyesight for. And I thought, I am hell with those courses. That's not what I want to do. So I changed counseling. Ended up getting a BS in computer science, and we had somebody come from NASA, a contractor, and I got hired on. So then I get to Houston, I say, I got to find an eye doctor here. Just keep, because I knew my vision was slowly deteriorating. And I went to the eye doctor, and after he finished my exam, you know, I didn't tell him the answer. I wanted to see if he got the same one. He said, you're legally blind. I thought, yes, I knew that. He said, I'm going to have my assistant come in and help fill out the paperwork. You can go on disability. I'll give us a prize or something. And people do need that. But I didn't because I had been working hard and earned my degree. So I changed doctors. So what I like to tell people is you will find people in your life that mean well. And they look and they don't fully understand your capabilities or your willpower or what you're going to do, and they will mislead you. So just believe in yourself if you have a dream and keep pursuing it. I went on to NASA, and when I was there, I started writing software for the shuttle simulator. And after I did that a while, I would have to demo it. The instructors or teachers of the astronaut write the requirement. So I wrote the software, and they said, you know what, you've got such great people skills. You know these models so well. How about you come over and teach? So I moved over to teaching. And when I got there, I believe it was my disability, my different point of view, my different perspective that really helped me. Because when I got there, we would do a class. And say you're flying the robotic arm that I talked about earlier. You grab the pedal. At some point, you want to feel the elbow joint. That makes it a little bit harder to move around. You have to go to that assistant. So we would have to stand there, and we'd have a page in front of us. I had to really memorize everything. Because I couldn't, if I needed to look at voltages, joint angles, I didn't know where they were, so I could do like that. Then I had to pull up a malfunction page, insert it, and get back to the page to see how the crew reacted to failure. So I started thinking, you know what? If I could preload these, I could just concentrate on the student. So I actually wrote a requirement to automate the malfunctions. We put them off mission elapsed time, we put them off GMT time, or off another thing. When they uncredit on, then I put in a failure. Because you don't want the failure to be from the beginning in the middle. And that helped everybody, not just me, but it really helped me because I wouldn't have to jump from one thing to another. And all the instructors could concentrate on their people. So I got awards for that. And there were several other innovations that I think because I came from outside the norm, and I would say it helped me. I also read software. So when they didn't have something, I said, shoot, I can write software to do that. It makes it easier. So then I went to NASA in 1998, became a branch chief, and after 5 years, I was not getting bored, but if you look at just ones and zero command to learn flight software, I went to my boss and said, I want to do something different. I'm thinking of applying for a different job. About 2 weeks later, he came back and he said, Tracy, I need someone to set up all the interfaces for the international partners. But I know you're legally blind, and could you do that international travel? Would that be too hard on you? Do you think you can do it? So you know what I love is that he came and we had a joint conversation. He didn't look at me and say, gosh, Tracy, you're good at this. He can't see. He can't go to Moscow, Germany, all these places. We talked about it. I told him what I could do and not do. Went home and prayed with my wife. Came back and did that for 5 years. Went to Moscow like 10 times. One time I did lock myself out of my room in my underwear. Back then, I wore whitey tighties. And then when I did the correct that problem, I now wear boxers. I went to Germany. I went to over Poppenhofen. Right, that's what I mean. I like saying over Poppenhofen. I went to Japan. I went to Paris. I went to Rome, Italy, Montreal, and I did all those things and helped all the international partners. Because when the Russians send command, they come to the control center. We go out to the White Sand. We go up to the teachers, the telemetry data relay satellite, and we get to the station. And we're to the shuttle. Then all the telemetry comes back to us. And we tell them what they can send and what they can't, and all that is written down and discussed. So anyway, it really was great. And the thing I like to remind people is that he did not put a false barrier on me. We actually looked at somebody and we had a discussion. It might have been I could not have done that job. So now I'd like to move over a little. Let's see if I can find one next. Oh, here it is. So I get asked all the time, have you ever seen an alien? Do you think aliens have ever visited our solar system? So now you can say, take a picture of you have seen an alien. I come in peace. So I always do a lot of classes with Zoom. I do a lot of classes with Microsoft Teams for kids. And what I do is when I tell my stupid dad jokes, they mute all their microphones. So I tell a great joke, and nobody laughs. So do you think, people ask me, do you think aliens have visited our solar system? And I always say no. They check the rating, 1 star, the sun. I always get a laugh at each other. Always get a laugh at each other. All right, I'm going to move down the table a little bit. And, so what I'd like to talk to you now is about Plan, Train, Fly. Plan, Train, Fly is what we call our flight controllers. We plan our mission, we train for them, and then we fly a Super Bowl. Much like there's going to be football team, soccer team, the band, even your business. You plan out the fiscal year. And what you do is I tell students, NASA says all the time, reach for the stars. We say, dream big. But we don't tell them how to dream, to reach their dream. Connect the dot, do a roadmap to it. So what I tell students is, we need to do the planning. Say you want to go and work for NASA. You go and look at what kind of degree do I need? What kind of certification? Maybe I want to open up my own restaurant. I go and look, what does it take to have a restaurant? What type of food I have? Where would I want to open this restaurant? Then you go off and you interview people. You find somebody in that field. I can tell you when someone wants to talk to me, it's flattering. Because if someone wants to do what I'm doing, I must be doing something right. So go and interview those people. Talk to them about what to do. If you want to be an electrician, Go find out what they did. Did they start off their own business or they open up later? Once you have, and this can also be for us adults that are retired. You want to learn how to play the harmonica because you were inspired tonight. Or you want to learn a musical instrument or something. So what you do is you make your plan, and then you got to have a schedule. Thank you. She's giving time. So they have, you make a schedule with objectives. So you say, okay, this summer, if I want to start a restaurant, I'm going to get a job in a restaurant. One of the type of restaurants I kind of like. If I want to be an engineer, maybe I can find somebody at the university that would let me shadow them, at least for a day. Find out what their work week is like. I tell them when they do this too, is to write down their dream. You know, I tell them, put it on your mirror. I want to work as an engineer at NASA. Tape it on your mirror. Make it your email address. Tracy wants to be an engineer at gmail.com. Whatever it takes to remind you. Then put it in a calendar because you've got to have a schedule and have it come up once a month. And when it comes up, you say, darn, I haven't even taken step 1 on that plan. You know what? Don't quit. You adjust the schedule. It may be that you ended up going to Fargo, North Dakota, and you didn't plan it. So it puts you a little bit behind. And then you can even print it on a t-shirt. And let me see. This is my, right? I have PRP 31. I have it on a t-shirt. People ask me, I want a cure for this. I want a cure for LA. So put it on a t-shirt. I'm going to work at NASA. Whatever it's going to be. I'm going to be an electrician and do that. And then once you do all that, you can fly and you can reach your dream. So over here, I have a potato. And this is Mr. Potato Head. So I'm going to take his ears out. One may have fallen off. Probably good. Anyway, so you won't hear what I'm going to do. I'm going to take away his eyes so you won't see what I'm going to do. And I'm going to take away his mouth so you won't hear him scream. So this is a physics thing from Newton's law. Yeah, sure, try to find my straws. Thank you. So these are regular straws. And this is really a physics experiment where it says force equals mass times acceleration. For the station, even the shuttle, every once in a while, something's coming very small at this the space station. We have to move it up or down. We call it debris avoiding maneuvers. And I won't say what that acronym is, but we're in a church. But anyway, we will avoid this thing going up. So it's also, if you're riding in your car and a rocket is going up, a very small object traveling fast can do great damage. So what I like to do is change this into a life lesson. This is an obstacle in your life. Something says, I'm not good enough. I'm an imposter. I can't do it. I can't learn to play the guitar at 60. I could never work at NASA. I can't pass that math test. I couldn't do a 5K. What you do is if you put a plan together, you're here, you want to go here, you get focused. And then what you have to do is you have to take action. That's what we don't do. We make all these dreams, all these plans, we don't take action. But if you do, you can burst through to the other side and get to where you want to go. And this is how we invented the French fry. But I'm sure, how much time do I have? A minute? 1 minute, good. I have time for my William Wallace speech. Sherry, is the chair wobbly or not? Oh, fine, that makes it even better. I always make people nervous when an old man gets up in a chair and gives a speech, and my legs are shaking. All right, I think I got. Actually, this is the house. All right, so this is from the movie Braveheart. I am William Wallace, and I see before me a whole army of my countrymen and women. You are free men and women. You come as free men and women, and free men and women you are. What would you do without causes in your life? We go home. We open our phone and do a sleep. Aye, go home and sleep, and you will live at least for a while. Die in your bed many years from now. But would you be willing to trade all the days from this day to that, to tell your children and your children's children, I chose to give, I chose to serve, I chose to live, I chose to love. As Gene Kranz said, failure is not an option. I can never forget this,